The first time the sea caught fire, the sky turned black. It wasn't lightning and it wasn't war. It was something older, something alive. Fishermen spoke of a strange glow beneath the waves, red and pulsing, like the heartbeat of a slumbering beast. At night, the ocean whispered in voices no man could understand. A low, echoing hum that made bones ache and dreams run red with flame. Our story begins in the coastal village of Karathos, a place that lived and died by the sea. Here the people feared storms more than gods, for storms could strip away their homes in a single night. But this was no storm. It started with Althea, the daughter of a shipbuilder. She was the first to see it. One moonless night, standing barefoot on the cold shoreline, she saw the horizon pulse with a red light. It wasn't the glow of lava or torches. It moved like a living thing, stretching, recoiling, then stretching again. The next day, the catch of the fishermen came ashore already cooked. Their nets dripped with steam, the fish's flesh flaking as if roasted over coals. The elders whispered that the sea was dreaming, and in its dream it had remembered fire. Legends spoke of this. They told of Pirith, the sleeping spirit of the ocean, banished beneath the waves by the gods for trying to steal the sun itself. It was said that if Pirith awoke, it would set the waters ablaze and burn the world until nothing but ash remained. Most dismissed these tales, until the whales washed up on the beach. Their skin blackened, their mouths frozen in silent screams. Althea, unlike the others, could not look away. She had always felt something calling her from the deep. When she dreamed, she saw molten waves and heard the roar of something vast and chained. And lately, the dreams were becoming sharper, louder. One night, as the villagers gathered in fear, a deep tremor rolled beneath their feet. The horizon burned brighter. And then, from the darkness of the sea, a voice rose, not carried by wind, but echoing inside every mind at once. I am waking. The ocean hissed like oil on fire, and for the first time in history, water burned. Althea knew then that the stories were true. The sea that dreamed of fire was no longer dreaming. The fire on the water did not vanish with the dawn. It smoldered quietly, a strange, shimmering red haze just beneath the surface, as though the ocean was holding its breath. The elders of Karathos forbade anyone from going near it. They prayed to the gods, casting salt into the waves as an offering. But Althea could feel it in her bones. Prayers would not stop what was coming. She returned to the shore at dusk, the wind tasting of smoke. That was when she noticed an old man sitting on a rock, staring at the sea with eyes clouded like storm glass. His name was Theron, the oldest sailor in Karathos. People whispered he had once sailed farther than any man dared. You've seen it before, Althea said quietly. Theron didn't look at her. Not seen, heard. His voice was low, like he feared the sea might listen. Years ago, when I was young, I followed the glow too far. The waves spoke to me. They told me of chains deep enough to cut the ocean in half. That's where Pirith sleeps. He told her of an ancient battle, when the gods bound the fire, spirit with anchors of stone and chains forged from fallen stars. But every 1,000 years the chains weakened, and if no one renewed the bindings, the world would burn. How do you renew them? Althea asked. Theron's gaze turned sharp. You don't, you offer yourself to them. A soul for a chain. That's the law. That night Althea dreamt again, but this time she wasn't just a witness. She was beneath the waves, drifting toward a vast living furnace. Massive chains wrapped around it, glowing white-hot from strain. Each link was cracking, and through the glow, she saw an eye of pure flame open and look directly at her. She woke with her sheets smoldering. The next morning, the sea rose unnaturally high, flooding the lower streets of Karathos. People fled inland, but Althea walked toward the water. Something inside her knew she was being called. Standing at the edge of the pier, she saw shapes moving beneath the burning surface. Not fish, not whales. They were colossal serpentine shadows, their bodies coiled around the great chains of Pirith's prison. And then, with a sound like the breaking of a mountain, one chain snapped. The ocean shuddered, steam hissed, and the voice returned, stronger, hungrier. One chain is gone. 4 remain. Althea realized she had no choice. She would have to go beneath the waves. The sea should have killed her the moment she dove in. Instead, it welcomed her. The water burned like molten metal, yet her skin didn't blister. The light here wasn't sunlight. It was the glow of Pirith's prison, stretching endlessly into the blackness. The deeper she swam, the more she felt a strange heat building inside her, as though the sea itself was shaping her for what lay ahead. The first thing she saw was the broken chain. It was thicker than any tree, forged from a metal that shimmered like silver and ash. One end hung free, drifting in the currents, its break jagged like a tooth. Around it swam the serpentine guardians Theron had spoken of, their scales glowing faintly in the darkness. They didn't attack her, they circled her, studying her. A shadow moved beyond them. It wasn't a guardian. It was Pyraith itself. She saw only a fraction of it. Vast coils of fire, a single burning eye, and the shimmer of heat so intense the water rippled like glass. Its voice filled the depths, each word thrumming in her bones. "You are not afraid." Althea's lips moved, though she wasn't sure the sound carried in the water. "I came to stop you." A low rumble like distant thunder. "Stop me or free me." Before she could answer, the water trembled violently. Something struck from above, a harpoon cutting through the water, glowing with godly light. The guardian scattered. From the surface, shadows descended, men in bronze armor, carrying weapons etched with divine runes. Hunters. They weren't here to help. They were here to kill Pyraith, and anything near it. The water became chaos, flashes of fire, streaks of steel. Althea grabbed the drifting chain and swam hard, trying to avoid the battle. She knew now the hunters weren't just enemies of Pyraith. They were enemies of her. A voice burned in her mind. "If you wish to bind me, I will show you how. But if you fail, you will burn with the rest." The choice was made. She followed Pyraith's gaze deeper, toward the anchor of stars, where the remaining chains were bound. They said the anchor had been forged at the dawn of time, when the gods tore a piece from the heavens and buried it in the sea. Now Althea saw it for herself, a massive spire of black stone, studded with shards of light like frozen constellations. 4 chains bound Pyraith here, each leading into the dark beyond sight. One was broken. The others strained, glowing hotter with each passing moment. The hunters followed her down. Their leader, a man with eyes like polished steel, pointed his spear at her. "Move aside, girl. This thing dies tonight." Althea shook her head. "If you kill it, the sea will boil and the land will burn. The chains are the only way to keep it sleeping." The man's jaw tightened. "Then you will die with it." They clashed. The fight was brutal. Steel against heat, water against fire. Althea fought not with strength, but with the strange power growing inside her since she entered the sea. She struck the anchor with her bare hands, feeling the constellations flare beneath her touch. The broken chain leapt toward her, wrapping around her wrist like a living thing. Pain tore through her, but she held on. Her blood turned to light running along the chain, sealing it anew. Pyraith roared. Whether in pain or approval, she could not tell. The hunters fled upward, fearing the ocean's wrath. But Althea knew this was only a delay. The chains would weaken again. Days passed above, but time felt different below. Althea remained near the anchor, listening to the slow, restless breathing of Pyraith. One night, if it could be called night, a deep tremor shook the ocean. She saw cracks racing along the second chain. This time there would be no hunters. No warning. She swam to it, but the moment she touched the chain, she saw flashes, visions. A world without Pyraith's bindings, a sky black with smoke, cities drowning in boiling seas, mountains collapsing in rivers of fire. Then she saw something else, herself, standing upon the surface of a calm, endless ocean, her hair wreathed in flame. The voice returned, softer now. "You are mine." The chain shattered. Heat exploded through the water. Pyraith surged upward, the fire within it lighting the ocean like a second sun. Althea felt herself pulled into its heart, the chains whipping around her arms and chest. Instead of burning, they merged into her skin. And then now silence. The ocean cooled. The fire dimmed. The massive form of Pyraith faded into the dark, leaving only her, floating alone in the water. When she surfaced, the sea was calm. The village of Karathos lay untouched. But when she looked into her reflection, her eyes burned with an unearthly fire. The sea that dreamed of fire was not gone. It had chosen a new dreamer.